Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Ajnana Timirandhasya, Jnana Anjana Shalakaya, Chakshurin Militam Yena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Madhacha Pita Tvameva, Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva, Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva, Tvameva Sarvam Amriteshwari Ma, Tvameva Sarvam Amriteshwari Ma, Tvameva Sarvam Amriteshwari Ma. Om Amriteshwari Nama. We'll begin with a short meditation. Kindly sit straight. Make sure your vertebral column, your spinal column is erect. And slowly close your eyes. Try to focus your awareness on your breathing. Breathing normally. And as you become aware of each and every inhalation and exhalation, slowly start relaxing. And feel completely relaxed now. Now we'll chant the sacred mantra Om 3 times. And as we chant Om, imagine the sound of Om to arise from your navel, not from your navel area, but from your navel area and not from your throat. So visualize it arriving from your navel area and not from your throat. So kindly take a deep breath. Feel the silence, the reverberations of Om in each and every part of your being. Now slowly turn your awareness into your breathing. And as you breathe in, chant the syllable, the mantra, Ma, silently along with your in-breath. And Om with your exhalation. Let it be synchronous with your breathing. And after chanting Ma, while inhaling, hold your breath for a few seconds. Don't hold it too long. And then chant Om while breathing out. So continue like this. Ma. Slowly and slowly the reverberations of Ma and Om become more and more subtle rather than feeling the physical sound. Feel the subtle vibrations of Ma and Om inside your mind. is a representation of divine love, an Om of divine light. Feel that divine love and light filling your heart, and as a result, your heart expanding as big as the universe. And feel the joy, feel the bliss, feel the peace, feel the love. And visualize this love, light, and bliss and peace going out from your heart to all the beings in this world. And as the light falls on each and every one of them, imagine they also become more loving, more peaceful, more silent, and more blissful. And while imagining so, let's chant the prayer, Loka Samasta, 9 times. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. 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 Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Om Dhyayamo Dhavlavagundhanavatim Tejomayim Naishtikim Snigdha Pangavilokinim Bhagavatim Mandasmita Shrimukhim Valsalyamritavarshinim Sumathuram Sankirtanalapinim Shamangim Madhusikta Suktim Amridanandatmikam Ishwarim. Om Narayanam Padmabhuvam Vasishtam Shaktim Chatatputram Parasharam Cha Pyasam Shugam Gaudapadam Mahandam Govinda Yogendra Adhasya Shishyam Sri Shankaracharyam Adhasya Padmapadam Cha Hastamalakam Cha Shishyam Tam Todakam Vartikagaryamanyaan Asmad Gurun Sandadamanadosmi. Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. In the last session, we were looking at how Daksha was ordained by Lord Hari to create. And I was explaining to you also that when the Lord, who has divided himself into three, one is Brahma, the creator, second is Vishnu, the sustainer, and third is Shiva, the destroyer. So he has three functions, and according to the three functions, which is the most prevalent in the world, you can see that everything is created, then it is sustained, then it dies. So Daksha was ordained by Lord Srihari, or we can call it anything, we can call Vishnu, Krishna, Shiva, give him any name. But what we wanted to know is Lord means here, always we say that it is the supreme consciousness which has manifested in a form. And because of the form, we have to give a name. So that's why we give like Vishnu, Krishna, anything you call it. And I was explaining that the Prachetasas had gone and they were doing tapas for austerity for 1,000 years. And what happened was, after that, the Prachetasas married a wife known as Amlocha. And Amlocha gave birth to Daksha. So you remember the story of Daksha? Which Daksha is it? Who was Daksha? No. Didn't we say that story? Huh? No idea? No, the old one. Yeah. Who? Yeah. Who was he? He was, do you remember? Sati Devi's father. So, we'll get often confused between this Daksha and the other Daksha. And it is purposeful. You know why? It is the same Daksha that is, Daksha Prajapati was the first Daksha, that was the father of Sati Devi. And you remember what happened, right? So he ridiculed Lord Shiva, and so his head was cut off. So then, after he died, he had the second birth. And so Daksha was born because he humiliated God Shiva. So the first one, Daksha, the first Daksha was the Manasaputra. Manasaputra means the mental son. A son which was born out of the mental power of Lord Brahma. So he didn't have a physical origin. Brahma created him. Just like, Amma creates so many babies, but Amma doesn't want to show that magic. So she binds them inside a womb. And says, you be born under such and such a mother. So that's what she does. So the first Daksha, when he passed, when he died, then he had to be reborn because of what he did to Lord Shiva. And so he was reborn to Prachetas and his wife Amlocha. And so Daksha, then you remember Daksha was doing a lot of austerity. This Daksha, now we are talking about the second one, not the first one. Forget the first one. So the second Daksha Junior, right? And Daksha Junior did a lot of tapas. And you remember then by his wife, his wife's name was Asikni. And he got 10,000 sons. And as soon as the children were born, what did they do? They said, it's not like nowadays where it will take a lot of time to grow. They grew up pretty quickly. And as soon as they grew up, they said, oh Dad, we are going to do austerities, tapas, so please bless us. And then they went. And as they were doing the austerities, what happened? After they finished the austerities, Sage Narada appeared there. And when Sage Narada appeared, Narada Muni, that is Sage Narada, said, what are you doing? Do you want to go back to the worldly life and suffer? Or do you just want to attain realization and go forward and not to have any more births? Now, of course, the choice was not to have any more births. So they said, we want only realization. And so Sage Narada gave them the knowledge and they all became realized and left Daksha behind. So this is what happened with Daksha. So hearing the loss of his excellent sons to himself and family, because of Narada's interference, Daksha was overpowered by sorrow and grieved over it for a long time. Which father would not have grief, knowing that having children, and that to have good children can in this way be a cause of sorrow also. So it's not that they were bad children, they were really good children. So then what happened? Comforted and consoled by Brahma. So Brahma came and comforted him. He got several thousand children known as Sabalasvas by his wife Asikni, the daughter of Panjajana, and commissioned by their father to multiply the species and vowed to observe rigorous austerities. So they went to the same place, which is the Narayana Saras, where their elder brothers attained to spiritual perfection, attaining purity of mind by bathing in the holy waters. They performed severe austerities, uttering a great mantra. And for some months, they lived on water alone. Next, for some months, they took in air alone. Uttering the following mantra, they meditated on Mahavishnu, the master and lord of all masters. And they said, Om salutations to Narayana, the resort of all liberated souls, the pervader of everything, the perfect being, the form reflected in all pure hearts, and the spirit untouched and uncontaminated by anything. So they were chanting the mantras. So we saw the effect, correct, of chanting mantras, and many times we have seen that. And what if we chant? We were talking about the whole time about how in the Bhagavatam it explains that even if you chant at least once and not knowingly, right? And not knowingly, and then we will see that, like in the case of Ajamila. And Ajamila chanted the name just once to in the end of his life. So coming back to Daksha, so the sons of Daksha, again they performed the austerity, intense austerity. And usually what happens is when we perform intense austerity, who appears there? The Guru. So just like the previous time, and approaching them whose mind was set on procreation, the sage Narada, as before, spoke to them in words with enigmatic meaning. O sons of Daksha, beloved of your brothers, hear my advice. Follow the footsteps of your brothers. A brother who knows righteous conduct and follows the noble path chalked by his brother gains merit in this world and rejoices in the hereafter with the deities known as Maruts, noted for their intimate fraternity. O king, saying this much, Narada, whose company is unfailing in its effect, moved on. And these Sabalasvas too followed the footsteps of their elder brothers. And thus placed on the track towards the Lord, which is the blessing that come on an inward-looking mind, they went forward without turning back, like knights that have passed away. So they also, as advised by sage Narada, did not look back, and they just moved forward, and they became mendicants or beggars, we can say that, because they just didn't want to continue worldly life of getting children and all these things, and getting involved in the world. And now the father, the Prajapati, Daksha, began to see many omens portending evil. Soon he came to know the loss of his sons on account of Narada's repeated mischief. Anyway, we call it sage Narada's mischief. But he's the greatest mischief maker, so that all his mischiefs ends in blessing, that we progress to the supreme goal. Stunned by grief at the loss of his sons, he became violently angry at Narada. And with his lips quivering, in anger, he said as follows to Narada, who then happened to arrive at that spot. So Narada comes at the right moment at every spot. If somebody loves him, he comes there. If somebody gets angry at him, he also comes there. He doesn't mind whether somebody loves him or gets angry. And Daksha said, O hypocrite, who has put on the garb of a pious man. So you can see how he's giving it to him. And such a great personality, a great divinity like Narada. And he's saying that you are just a hypocrite. And you'll just put on this dress as a very great saint. You have perpetrated a great atrocity against us who have been following the path of pious men. You have converted my children into begging mendicants. O sinful one, you have marred the future of these children in this world and in the hereafter. For one has to discharge one's 3 debts to the rishis by Vedic study, to the devas by yajnas, and to the ancestors by begetting progeny. These sons of mine have not discharged these, nor have they made any study of the ritualistic code. One who takes to the life of sannyasa without discharging these duties loses this world and the next. You have reduced my sons to this fate. So he's saying, this is often what we hear from, I've been hearing from my parents also. And they had directed the same words, not the exactly same words, but somewhat similar words against Amma also. Amma who came in the form of Narada. And they said, this is what they said, like exactly the same thing. And look at my child. And he's going to become a sannyasin, means they are going to lose that child. And here he is saying that, my child would have become the president of this country, but instead now he is the beggar. And what have you done to him? No, he doesn't realize that he has become the ruler, the emperor of all the 3 worlds, not just one world. They have become the rulers of all the 3 worlds, which is their mind. So he says, "O sinful one, you have marred the future of these children in the world and hereafter." That's another problem. Because why? You have to discharge 3 duties, debts, which is called rina, means debts. So there are 3 rinas that he's saying. One is to the rishis, second is the deva, and third one is our ancestors, pitru rina. So these 3 rinas, and they are supposed to fulfill this, but now what happens? Because they're not getting children, what will happen? They have renounced their duties. So they will not get, they will be unfit because of they have not paid their debt. They will lose everything in this world as well as in the next world. Which is absolutely not correct, because you don't want the world, right? So even if you lose the world, so what? And the next world and the other worlds. So who cares? But, they always say this. Our parents used to say that, now who will be our, lineage? Whether there will be any children in our lineage, and our lineage is going to stop here, that thing. So who cares? The lineage is in their mind and everybody else's mind. And Lord Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya, he took sannyas at the age of 8. And he was asked the same question. Why did you take sannyas? You should have gone through the 4 stages of life. That is, one is the brahmacharya, grahastha, vanaprastha, and finally sannyasa. That is the ordinary progression. That is, 1 year brahmachari, that is a young unmarried man, then you become married, then you become grahastha, have children, you become grahastha, householder, then you go to vanaprastha. Then you leave everything, go to the forest, and then finally you become sannyasin. So he's saying the same things here. So he says, you are unfit to move among the devotees of the Lord, you whose whole hobby it is to confuse the minds of youngsters. This was the same thing that was used against Amma. When we used to go, the people used to say, oh, don't go near Mata Amritandamai, that Amritandamai. Whenever a youngster goes, he will never come back. So don't go there. We were all given warnings. And you are merciless and shameless, who form a blemish on the reputation of Sri Hari, whom you profess to serve. Except you, whose occupation consists in making friends into mutual enemies and thus destroying harmonious relationship among people, the Bhagavatas, the devotees of the Lord Vishnu, are generally very particular to be a blessing to the people. So you claim to be a devotee of Lord Vishnu. What are you doing? You are creating strife amongst the devotees. And you seem to think that mere passivity will enable people to cut off all these bonds of love with the near and the dear ones. It cannot. Only renunciation, vairagya can. And this renunciation, now he's teaching Sage Narada what is happening. Daksa is telling him. And telling him only with renunciation can cut off all these knots. And this renunciation will not be generated in the mind of anyone by the tactics of pseudo-ascetic like you, having only the form of a Paramahamsa, but not his knowledge. So you just see how much he's being hurled with so many abuse. Men have to pass through this discipline of karma to acquire renunciation. Yeah, here is another philosophy. So he's coming up with another philosophy. What? Without actual experience, man will not understand the ephemerality of worldly joys and the intensity of suffering. Through experience of them alone can man turn away from them and become a true renouncer. He does not become so by the confusion of thought created by the instigation of others. So here is the other philosophy. They always talk about this. So he's saying renunciation cannot be obtained. I mean, of course, you have to have renunciation. So they're saying, first of all, renunciation is needed. So how do you get renunciation? So that's why he's saying that, you're pseudo-ascetic like you cannot get it because, but why? You don't have the knowledge. Knowledge of what? Knowledge of worldly life. So he's saying, how do you get the knowledge of worldly life? You have to go through those experiences and understand the ephemerality of worldly joys and the intensity of suffering. So this is what you have to do. You have to go through these experiences, and then he says, through experience of them alone can man turn from them and become a true renouncer, a true vairagya. And he does not become so by the confusion of thought created by the instigation of others. So again, we were told the same thing. Why are you going like this? Why are you renouncing? Why are you going and sitting in an ashram? You are cowards. And you are running away from life. So we were told all these things. And then he's saying this is how it has to be. Why? You have to experience it. There is a beautiful story. And this story is about a group of kids. Every day, they go to their school. And on the way to the school, there is a big statue of Lord Ganesha. And Lord Ganesha with his sitting there with his big belly. And one day, the children noticed a small hole in exactly like the belly button. So one of them went and poked his finger because of curiosity into the belly, the hole right near the belly button. And as he poked it, there was a scorpion inside. And it bit him. And the scorpion bit him. Suddenly, what he did was, he took his hand and said, then everybody asked, what happened? What happened? Oh, he said, he just shook his hands and said, nothing. You put your hands in and you will know. So this is the philosophy. You already know that when you look at it, that what your parents are suffering, what are they going through, then why do you want to go through? As I said earlier, what Lord Shankara said was, If you already know the experiences, do you have to go through it? See, for example, you know that fire is hot and will burn you. You don't have to go and experience it saying that, let me touch and find out. What are you going to get if you touch it? You'll get the same thing. You'll get burnt. So if you already know, then why are you a fool to go through that experience? So here, that's what, but Daksha is saying from the perspective of a worldly person, a man whose attached to his children, and says, through experience only, then you can get true vairagya. Then only you'll renounce the world. Otherwise, it is just your mind that is creating, which is not correct. So he said, you did an unpardonable offense to us. Devoted ritualists following the path of rectitude, and the ways of a householder's life. Still we put up with your mischief once. But our snapper of the thread of our lineage, you have done it again, depriving us of progeny to continue our lines. So he says, see that? He's just giving it again, saying that, you did mischief once, you turned my 10,000 children into beggars, and now you are doing it again. And so he says, for that you shall suffer without any permanent place to stay. You shall be always wandering about in the worlds. And Sri Shuka said, Narada, universally respected as a holy man, sadhu, received this curse of Daksha without any reaction. Forbearance, even when one has power to retaliate, is a sign of a real sadhu. So what happened? Daksha cursed him, saying that you will not have a single place to live. You will be going around and round and round. And that's why, they depict Lord Sage Narada. If you have seen that, he keeps going with his veena all around and he does not stay in one place. For a great sage, a sadhu like Sage Narada, it is such a blessing. Because, if you stay in one place, then you get more attached. People will come and bother you. When you keep traveling, then what happens? Nobody is there to bother you. Then you don't get stuck to certain places or people. So it's actually nice if you keep traveling. We see in olden times, the sannyasins also used to travel. They didn't stay. They used to stay only the Chaturmasya, that is the 4 months of a year, in one place. They would go and stay in a holy place. But the rest of the time they will be walking around or going around. So what happened here? Daksha cursed him, saying that you will not stay in one place, you will be going around. So what happened to Sage Narada? He said, thank you. That's not a curse, actually. When somebody tells something to you, when it utters a word, your mind should have the power to reject something which is bad, right? And if you say, yes, I take it in, that means you are acknowledging that. So instead, if your acceptance doesn't mean that you are silently agreeing with that person or accepting whatever result. In this case, Sage Narada already knew what was going to happen. He knew that he was going to be cursed. So he's just smilingly, he said that. There is another instance in the life of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna was cursed by somebody. Do you remember who? Gandhari. What did she tell Lord Krishna? She said, just like my children were wiped out, your whole race will be wiped out. And what did Lord Krishna do? So he smilingly, he accepted it. Why? Because he knew that it was already going to happen. And Gandhari's curse was nothing but just a precursor to, and they're showing a preview of what is going to happen. So Lord Krishna immediately accepted it. And he did not react to it. And he said, okay, thank you. And in this case also, Sage Narada said, okay, thank you. So that's why he said the power not to retaliate is a sign of a real sadhu. A real person, a great person, the sign of a great person is not to retaliate. So afterwards, under the loving persuasion of Brahma, Daksha, the son of Prajapati, begot by his wife Asikni 60 daughters who were very much devoted to their parents. And he gave these daughters in marriage as follows: 10 to Dharma. Dharma means the god of righteousness. 13 to Kashyapa Prajapati. 27 to Chandra. Chandra means here moon. And 2 each to Bhuta, Angiras and Krisaswa. And the remaining 4 to Kashyapa, who is also called as Tarkashya. So what happened was, Daksha got 60 daughters. And he gave these daughters in marriage to the different people. And there is one story here who are enthusiastic about astrology. And you see Chandra is moon. Chandra got, what happened? Chandra got 27 daughters. And do you know how many stars are there? In nakshatras, in astrology? 27. So it's not coincidental. He said that what happened was, Chandra, when I say Chandra, it means not the Chandra here or any of the Chandrasekhars, you know. Chandra means the Lord of Moon. And, Tara was the wife of Brihaspati, the guru of the Devas. So this is a total different story. So don't get confused with this. So Tara is the wife of Brihaspati, the guru of the Devas. And in some of the stories, it's mentioned her husband spent most of his times with the problems and matters of Devas. So she felt ignored by her husband. So one day, Chandra, that is the moon god, visited Brihaspati. And there he saw Tara and was captivated by her beauty. And Tara also saw Chandra and she was attracted to him. And after some time, Chandra kidnapped Tara. So Brihaspati, the husband, was infuriated. So this is not a modern story. You might think it's a nice movie story, but it's an old story. So, but understand that this is a story, and there are so many layers of meanings to it. So Brihaspati, the husband, was infuriated and demanded Chandra to return his wife. And Chandra told Brihaspati that Tara was happy and satisfied with him, so why should she go? So, then he said, how can an old man make a young woman his wife? So this made Brihaspati more angry. And then he said, come for battle. So then what happened? Indra and the other Devas gathered to fight a war. Who is Indra? Indra and the others are in the side of the gods. So they wanted to protect Brahaspati, who is the guru of the gods. But Chandra was not ready to give Tara back, so he took the help of Asuras, that is the demons. And their guru, their preceptor was Shukracharya. His name was Shukracharya. And the Devas were assisted by Shiva and his companions. And the Devas and Asuras were about to fight a war when Brahma, the creator, stopped them and convinced Chandra to return Tara. So in some of the versions, actually, Lord Shiva stopped the war. Luckily, we don't have a Shiva to go to Ukraine for now, or Russia. And after some time, Brahaspati found out that Tara was pregnant and questioned her who the father of the child was. But Tara remained silent. And after the boy was born, both Chandra and Brahaspati claimed to be his father. At last, Tara revealed that the child was Chandra's son. And what the name of the boy was? Buddha. Buddha is Mercury. So after losing, so this is again astrology. If you go and study astrology, you'll find the relationships here. Who is Brahaspati and who is Guru. So it's also Guru. And then Chandra and Buddha. So they're closely related. And then after losing Tara, what happened? Chandra married 27 daughters of Daksha. So now this is where we come. So Daksha gave his 27 daughters to Chandra. So Chandra lost who? The Guru, Brahaspati. And now he is married to, because of that he is married to 27 women. So what happened was, anyway, we don't want to go to that. Out of his 27 wives, there are more to the story. Chandra fell in love with his chief wife. Her name was Rohini. That is another nakshatra. Rohini. And so he spent most of his time with her. And Daksha realized Chandra's intention and cursed him to lose his glory. So what happened? Chandra lost all his glory, but then he asked for forgiveness, and then later it is said that Lord Shiva came and partially restored Chandra's glory. So what happened was, this is what happens. We can talk about the astrological part much later, but this is what happened here in the lineage of Daksha, who got 60 daughters. So now they are going through the names of all the daughters and then their lineage. So we will just skip all those things. And then what will happen is, we will come So now we will come to Prajapati Kashyapa. Kashyapa's lineage. And this is very important because Kashyapa had, the many wives. Actually, he had 13 in number, but the two names with his Aditi and Diti. So they are very important because these were the Aditi and Diti were the mothers of the Devas as well as the Asuras. So one of them, Diti was the mother of the gods, and Aditi was the mother of the Asuras. So this is where we come and stand, and So we will look at the rest of it in the next session. Om Amriteshwari Namah. Om Amriteshwari Namah. Just wanted to remind everybody that there will not be a class next Tuesday as I'm traveling to India. So cannot conduct the class 35,000 feet above this sea level. So once I land in India and look at the scene over there, how it is, then probably we can continue the next session next Tuesday. So, Om Amriteshwari Namah. माता जगदम्बे माता जगदम्बे माता दयामयी जगदम्बे माता शक्तिमयी अम्मा काली महेश्वरी शक्तिमयी अम्मा काली महेश्वरी आदि पराशक्ति अम्मे आदि पराशक्ति शक्ति ओम 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 शक्ति करुणामयी हृदयेश्वरी अमृतेश्वरी सर्वेश्वरी हृदयेश्वरी अमृतेश्वरी सर्वेश्वरी दयामयी जगदम्बे माता दयामयी जगदम्बे माता शक्तिमयी अम्मा काली महेश्वरी अम्मे आदि पराशक्ति अम्मे आदि पराशक्ति ओम शक्ति 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 ओ Vinayaka, Vinayaka,
Vinayaka, Vinayaka,
Vinayaka, Vinayaka,
Vinayaka, Vinayaka,
Vishwadhara, Vinayaka,
Vishwadhara, Vinayaka,
Vishwadhara, Vinayaka,
Vinayaka,
Vinayaka, Vinayaka,
Vinayaka, Vinayaka,
Vishwadhara, Vinayaka,
Vinayaka,
Siddhi Vinayaka, Bhava Bhayanasha, Siddhi Vinayaka, Bhava Bhayanasha, Suramuni Vandida, Sri Ganesha, Suramuni Vandida, Sri Ganesha, Vishwadhara, Vinayaka, Vishwadhara, Vinayaka, 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 Vishwadhara, Vinayaka, Vishwadhara, Vinayaka, Siddhi Vinayaka, Bhava Bhayanasha, Siddhi Vinayaka, Bhava Bhayanasha, Bhava Bhayanasha, Bhava Bhayanasha, Siddhi Vinayaka, Bhava Bhayanasha, बाल गोपाल बाल गोप बाला हे बाल गोपाल बाला गोपाल बाल गोप बाला हे बाल गोपाल बाला ಬೆಳಗಾಗಿ ನಾವಡು ಯಾರ್ಯಾರೇ ನೆನೆಯೋಣ ಬಾಲನ ಪಾದವ ನೆನೆಯೋಣ ಬಾಲಕೃಷ್ಣನ ಬಂಗಾರ ಪಾದಗೆ ಚಿರಭಾಗಿ ಕೈಯ ಮುಗಿಯೋಣ ನಂದನ ನಂದನ ಗೋವಿಗ ಚಂದನ ಗಣೋವಿಲೋಲನ ನೆನೆಯೋಣ ಬೆಣ್ಣಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ಶ್ರೀ ಯಶೋಧನಂದನ ಭಕ್ತಿಯೊಂದ ನಾವು ಭಜಿಸೋಣ ಬೆಣ್ಣಕ್ಕಳ್ಳ ಶ್ರೀ ಯಶೋಧನಂದನ ಭಕ್ತಿಯೊಂದ ನಾವು ಭಜಿಸೋಣ ಬಾಲ ಗೋಪಾಲ ಬಾಲ ಗೋಪ ಬಾಲ ಹೇ ಬಾಲ ಗೋಪಾಲ ಬಾಲ गोपाल बाला देवकी पुत्रन पांडव गुरुवन राधा कृष्णन नयनयोन गीतनाथ श्री कृष्णन नयनयुत कुरडाती हाडी नलियोण ನವಲಿನ ಗರಿಯನು ಶಿರದಲ್ಲಿ ಮೂಡಿದಿಹ ನೀಲ ಶರೀರಿ ಗೋಪಿ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಚಿತ್ತಚೋರಾಮನ ಯಮುನಾ ತಡದಲ್ಲಿ ರಾಸಲೀಲೆಗೆಂದೇ ಕಾಡಿದಾನೆ ಚಿತ್ತಚೋರಾಮನ ಯಮುನಾ ತಡದಲ್ಲಿ ರಾಸಲೀಲೆಗೆಂದೇ ಕಾಡಿದಾನೆ ಬಾಲ ಗೋಪಾಲ ಬಾಲ ಗೋಪ ಬಾಲ ಹೇ ಬಾಲ ಗೋಪಾಲ ಬಾಲ गोपाल गोल गोप बाल हे बाल गोपाल बाल बाल गोपाल बाल गोप बाल हे बाल गोपाल बाल Jai Ma Ambe, Jai Ma Ambe, Jai Ma Ambe, Jai Jai Ma, Jai Ma Ambe, Jai Ma Ambe, Jai Ma Ambe, Jai Jai Ma, Jai Ma Ambe, Jai Ma Ambe, Jai Ma Ambe, Jai Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma. विनाशिनी दुख विमोचिनी जगदम्बे मादे कलिमलनासिनी कण्मशमोजिनी जगदम्बे मादे जय मां अम्बे जय मां अम्बे जय जय मां जय मां अम्बे जय मां अम्बे जय मां अम्बे जय जय मां 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 सन्मयि जिन्मयि सकल जगन्मयि सकलेश्वरी मादे सन्मयि जिन्मयि सकल जगन्मयि सर्वजनेश्वरी मादे मुनि सेविद चरण सरोजे जय जगदम्बे मादे जय मांबे जय मांबे जय जय मां जय मांबे जय मांबे जय मांबे जय जय मां जय मांबे जय मांबे जय मांबे जय जय मां 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 जय Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma. Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai 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 Jai Ma. अमृतेश्वरी मङ्गलम् प्रणमदा मुक्तिप्रदे मङ्गलम् भुवनेश्वरी मङ्गलम् सुकृतिना एकास्मै अमृतेश्वरी मङ्गलम् प्रणमदा मुक्तिप्रदे मङ्गलम् भुवनेश्वरी मङ्गलम् सुकृतिना एकास्मै मङ्गलम् हृदयेश्वरी मङ्गलम् हृदिलसत्तेजोर्मयी मङ्गलम् मृदुभाषिणी मङ्गलं विजयदा प्रेमाग्रदे मङ्गलं विजयदा प्रेमाग्रदे मङ्गलं विजयदा प्रेमाग्रदे अमृतानन्दमयी सहज समाधिषु धन्ये देवी अमृतानन्दमयी मादा अमृतानन्दमयी मादा अमृतानन्दमयी मादा अमृतानन्दमयी ॐ जय जय जगज्जननी वन्दे अमृतानन्दमयी मङ्गलआरति मानव भवानी अमृतानन्दमयी मादा अमृतानन्दमयी माता अमृतानन्दमयी। जय बोलो सद्गुरु माता अमृतानंदमयी देवी की असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु। ॐ शान्ति